All right. Welcome to the Rise Up Podcast. I'm your host, Jonah Mitchell. And on this show, I do my best to help you get out of your own way, rise up to your potential, and hopefully make the process of accomplishing your health goals or your health goals a little bit easier than they have been in the past. And I've been off for a few weeks. Because if you're watching the video of this, there's some changes that have gone on in my life. Um, and today I kind of want to talk about it. I want to talk about the typical sedentary lifestyle and how it can be challenging for someone to make the most ideal decisions based off the circumstances they're around or the people they're around and the lack of time that they have. Mainly because I am no longer primarily a health and fitness coach. I now have a corporate sales job, and holy crap, this is my first ever desk job ever. And it's been really, really, really weird. So, with me being off for 3 weeks and, having a couple of clients be like, hey, you still doing podcast episodes? Yes, I'm still doing them. I've just had a hard time jumbling all the things. So, yeah, so let me get you quickly caught up to speed, and then we're gonna jump right into the episode. Again, I appreciate you being here if you're still listening and all that fun stuff. If you're watching the video, I got a haircut. And yeah, we'll talk about that too. But feels a lot better. The long hair was fun for a while, but I am definitely a short hair kind of person. So yeah, let's jump into some things. Real quick, brief recap. So still working on the firefighting process. Firefighting, unfortunately, just may take longer than ideally like it to. I made an episode about that my last or a few episodes ago, I believe. And ultimately, I need to still make money. I still need to pay bills, and I'm still working hard at getting my name out there. I've been on a second ride along. I'm in contact with a couple with another friend of mine in the department and a man that my wife's family knows that I'll be able to go on another ride along. So meeting a lot of people, still doing a lot of that stuff, but I had to get a job to just help supplement some income and be able to still pay bills and give my wife a break because she's been working really hard supporting me in this process. And so yeah, so that's where all that is. Still working on the firefighting stuff, but this job is just a temporary means to an end for right now. But with this new job, it's imposed some different challenges for me. I've always had jobs where I'm on my feet or I'm working from home and activity wasn't a very big issue. Now I'm sitting a lot more. Like I sat for when I was talking to clients primarily. I worked from home, but I was able to walk away from my desk whenever I could, whenever I wanted to. If I'm on a check-in calls with clients, I can take the phone and just walk around my house and go outside whenever I wanted. Now at this job, I'm there from 5:45 in the morning to 3:15, and they say you get an hour lunch break or whatever, but it's kind of frowned upon to not eat at your desk. So this is a lot of it's just very, very, very different. So my daily activity has been cut in half just by that. Like I'm able to walk my dog once instead of twice, and Hannah's got to walk her by herself in the mornings now. So ultimately, things are very, very different. And because of that, because activity is not as easy, I needed to ultimately decide what has to change. A big part of any drastic change like this, not just in my personal life, but for many people, it it comes and there's a lot more change than is realized. Like a lot of people think that they'll be able to maintain their same momentum, their same frequency at the gym, the same routine with their food, but that's not always going to be the case, especially when you're new to a place and there's a lot of people that are offering you food or offering you drinks, and like you don't want to say no to them, you don't want to seem like the lame person or blah blah blah. There's a lot of easy to fall under situations when circumstances similar to this are new. So ultimately, I'm 2 weeks in, and this place is very pro. Like, hey, we'll bring you beer on Fridays. Hey, we'll bring you lunch. We'll bring you food. Hey, I'll pay for your lunch. Where you want to go? What do you want to have? And it's very easy to let a lot of those things say, yeah, yeah, I'll take a beer. Yeah, I'll take lunch, free lunch. Oh, you want to get Chick-fil-A? Let's get Chick-fil-A. And I've been having to really practice a lot of boundaries that I've had a lot of practice with in general, but it's not easy for everybody. It's not easy to say no to your boss technically who wants to pay for your lunch. And it's not easy to say no to the beer when everyone else around you is drinking beer. I've just had a lot of practice, and ultimately the path that I've been on for the last 3.5 years in my health and fitness career, I've learned how to put these boundaries in play so I don't feel like I'm always, I'm straying too far off, especially with my activity being cut in half, and then ultimately my diet getting drastically impacted because of the easily accessible situations that I'm in. So I just want to talk to you about how I have had to change certain things and how I've used the practice of that I've established over the last 3.5 years to still maintain a level of consistency and confidence in my own routine, so that even though things are very, very different, I don't feel like I'm losing control. And it takes a lot of first in the beginning, before I even accepted the job, I had to understand what was going to be different. I'm or I had to accepting how do I say this? Yeah, I'm just going to stick with that. I had to accept what was going to be different. And a big part of it, like time and my old routine, is going to be completely different. I'm not going to have as much time. I need to be more strict with certain meals. Like I never used to eat breakfast before 5 a.m. Or before 6 a.m. Now I'm eating breakfast at like 5, and it's super strange. It's super strange. I'm not always hungry, but I know if I don't eat something and I'm at my desk for a while and I don't eat anything until like lunch, it's far more easy for me to like want to eat everything and anything. Not being able to walk in the morning, I wake up an hour before I have to leave for work, and I do some mobility. I do some stretching before I get my day going. I had to accept that since I won't be able to do the things I'm used to, I need to make some changes, especially for what I want to accomplish, or what I want to maintain. I want to be able to feel good, even though a lot of my time is going to be spent at a desk. So I had to make a few sacrifices and accept, hey, I might not be able to stay up as late as I used to. I didn't stay up very late either, or I didn't stay up very late regardless. But I need to be comfortable at, like, if I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m., I'm going to sometimes be tired. I'm not going to want to do these things, and that's okay. I'm going to have to prepare my breakfast in advance so I can save a little bit of time in the morning, so I can have my little bit of movement, a little bit of time to relax, and then I can eat. I can eat before I leave, or I can eat something. I can eat something on the road, you know. And I have to pack my lunches. If I don't want to fall into always going out to eat or eating whatever's available, I need to take some time. And luckily, I have a partner who's very supportive, and she helps me out with that. Um, I take my lunches there, and it's very easy for me to say, well, I already brought my lunch. I don't really want to do those things. I don't want to go out to lunch. I don't, it's okay for me to say no when someone's offering to pay for my lunch. I already have my lunch. Um, but I'm saying this because I essentially wanted to accept the new boundaries that I had to create new boundaries based off this temporary change that I'm in. It's not convenient. I don't like it. But ultimately, boundaries and sticking to them are very, very important, because something I always talk about, or something I want people to remember, is the crazy people are the ones who don't talk to themselves rationally. And a lot of that just looks like just asking yourself, what happens if I don't do these things? And remembering that there's consequences to every decision that we make, and not all consequences are bad. The consequences of sticking with your promises, sticking with your boundaries to yourself, of doing things because you know how they make you feel, and even if you don't want to do them, right? This is very different from forcing yourself to do something. You think of the consequences of, oh, even though I don't have that as much time, I'm a little bit more mentally exhausted. This is super new. I still feel as close to how I used to feel with my routine as I possibly can be. Right, I'm maintaining as much progress, maintaining as much momentum as I can be with sticking with these boundaries, especially when I don't want to do them. Right, I don't want to meal prep and wake up super early in the morning. But if I don't do these things, and if I don't move my body in the morning, if I just roll out of bed and just get to the desk, I'm sitting all day. The consequences of that is I'm probably going to feel way worse. I'm probably going to feel super tight, super, super stiff. My posture is going to get worse and worse and worse. And then and then I'm going to feel terrible because of that. Oh, and if I don't have my meals prepped, I'm going to eat out. I'm going to eat a lot of food that probably doesn't agree with my digestion. My digestion's going to get off. I'm going to feel bloated. I'm going to feel lethargic, and I'm not going to feel great. It's probably going to be easier for me to overconsume calories because I'm eating food that I'm not preparing myself, and that I'm not as active as I used to be. And so now, because I'm having this conversation, I'm thinking about the consequences both ways. Well, it's easier for me to choose the stuff that's not convenient, not convenient to do, but it leads me to feeling better. Instead of me doing the convenient things, like, okay, I'm gonna stay in a little bit later. I'm not gonna prepare my meals as often. And then I think about what could happen. And it makes it easier for me to decide, okay, meal prepping my meals, waking up a little bit earlier, and I say I'm going to go to the gym every day, regardless of what it looks like, right? That's a personal boundary. If I'm stuck at a desk all day and I have no I can't or I don't have nearly as much activity as I do, my boundary is I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm not going to kill myself at the gym every day, but that's a boundary. I don't always want to go. I'm like tired after work. I don't always want to go, but if I go and do something, if my goal is to just get there, I could be there for 10 minutes. And that's it. Right. Because I'm trying to supplement what I lost with the time that I do have. I'm not trying to make these massive commitments to change of like, it has to look like an hour a day. I got to do this much cardio. It's like, no, I'm going to get there. I'm going to at least strength train 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm going to try and get at least one cardio session in, one run. And that's it. That's all I did, but I'm going to try and get there every single day, and whatever it looks like. If I'm there and I'm just doing some stretching and that's it, that's okay. That's fine. If I'm there, I do only a couple lifts, that's fine. I got there. That's it. So I'm doing those things because I want to maintain the momentum. I want to feel better about my decisions. And it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not telling you, and I don't have children, like this is easier for me to do because I don't have the only person I have to really worry about is myself, my wife, and my dog. I have siblings, I have family, but I don't have children. I don't have a big I don't have as much of a responsibility as some of the people that I work with. I'm telling you this not because I need anyone who's got a 9 to 5 to do what I do. I'm sharing this because I everyone can do something similar to this, not exactly to the extent that I do it, but if you can have these boundaries with yourself, these little things in your day to day, when a lot of your time is spent working and you don't have time for activity, and then when you're off work, you have responsibilities for children. If you have a few little things that I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to prepare at least one meal. Or I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to prioritize activity where I can. Like you can do those things and still build momentum and or even maintain momentum. You just have to accept what it might look. You have to accept that it might not look like the way you want it to, and it might not like the change you want to accomplish or the goals you have, they might not come as quickly as you hope. But if you don't do anything and you don't think about the consequences of those things, right? Like it's the change will be inevitable. Change might happen that you don't want to change. And or change might happen that will lead you to feel worse. And we don't want that. The goal is to take the new circumstances or take the circumstances you are that you do have that are not always conducive to being a fitness influencer. That's like that the typical person is not paid to work out and look good on social media. The typical person has a 9 to 5 job, doesn't and has external responsibilities that do not leave a lot of room for themselves all the time. So learning how to carve out time regardless, and these personal boundaries, these personal promises, like it helps you still get closer to what you want to accomplish. I'm just sharing my personal story because I have to have these conversations with myself every day. I have to remind myself, if I don't wake up early, this is what happens. If I don't go to the gym, this is what happens. Right. And I'm not punishing myself for those things. I'm doing them because deep down, I know after I've done those things, I'm happier because of it. Right. In the moment, I don't want to go to the gym. In the moment, I don't want to make my fucking meals. Like I'm exhausted. That's the last thing I want to do. But if I don't do them, things will get worse. And I talk to my clients about this all the time. You have to learn how to have these conversations even before you have the goals that you want. Because even when you do have your goals, like these conversations still have to happen. You still have to talk to yourself. The crazy people are the ones who don't talk to themselves rationally, right? Sometimes you're not going to win. Sometimes you're going to say yes to the beer. Sometimes you're going to say yes to the meal out. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying you cannot do those things. I'm just saying we want to do more of the stuff that leads us to feeling better more as often as possible. Like I talk about 80% of the time, if you're making the most aligned decision for you, that are one ideal for the goals that you have and how you want to feel, then you have 20% of the time to say yes to a beer, yes to a meal out with coworkers or friends or whatever. Right. I'm not living a super strict lifestyle because I have to. If I don't, I'm gonna gain weight and I'm gonna feel shit. Like, no, it's like I just prefer to feel better because I like making decisions that ultimately make my life easier. They're not always easy to make those decisions. Like I did say yes to someone buying me Chick-fil-A. Like I'm not opposed, or I'm not telling anyone that they can't do those things. But I want people to know that if you're in that situation, this is a new situation for me, I am now having to live and practice what I preach. I've told people who sit at desk jobs like, hey, if you need to go to the restroom, use the restroom on a different floor of your building, or just don't use the most convenient restroom. And what I've been having to learn now is like, okay, if I got to go to the restroom, like there's a bathroom right outside my office. I can easily go to that one. But no, I take the stairs up to the next floor and then I use that restroom and I come back down because I want to prioritize activity where I physically can't. It's another boundary that I'm trying to stick with. It's very easy for me to say, fuck it, and not do those things. It's very easy for me to get bogged down with the new work that I have to do and say, I can't go to the restroom right now. I can't eat lunch now. It's like, no, I will personally walk away from my desk. As I don't want to say as much as possible, but I'll do as much as I can to get done. But if I genuinely got to go to the bathroom, if I genuinely need the lunch break, I'm doing it. I'm not going to allow myself to make the easy decision to stay here and just let myself not stick with my promises, not stick with my boundaries. Because if I do that, I know it could get worse. I know I could feel like I know what could happen if I don't do those things. And really, that's the point of this episode is remembering and talking to yourself and thinking through the decisions, thinking through the actions, and what happens if you don't stick with your promises. Not in a way that is punishing. I need to be abundantly clear about this. I'm not trying to make you punish yourself. I talk a lot about manageable decisions, manageable approaches. If you can pick something manageable, like every time I go to the restroom, I'm going to use it on the next floor. I'm going to use the farther bathroom. That's all. That's all you can do. Or that's all you have to do. Just stick with that one and build up that consistency. And then you can maybe add more. It's like, okay, now instead of if I'm in an office that's convenient for me to use the stairs instead of an elevator, I'll take the stairs and I will avoid the elevator as much as possible. Now I've worked with people who work on the 15th floor of buildings, and that's not always convenient. So like that's not the case. I only work on the second floor, so it's very very easy for me to choose the stairs more often than the elevator, right? Some people, that's not always the case, but then we still find areas to make it and make the adjustment or make the more health conscious choice, right? It's not just about the better choice. It's like, can I make it more of a health conscious choice towards what I want to accomplish? So I hope that makes sense of like, okay, there's things, accepting that things are different, and then accepting what happens if I don't stick with manageable choices. If I don't stick with them, what's the consequence? What's the consequences if I do stick with them? Right? Because not all consequences are bad. And I'm someone who is where he wants to be. So this, you listening to this and you're not where you want to be physically with your health, it's like, oh, it was easier for you. I also have a lot of practice and I've been on this earth for 28 years, and I've been helping people with their relationship with themselves and their food for 5 years now. 5 years. Yeah. And it's just got to the point where I can actually say that I am happy with where I'm at physically. And that's taken the vast majority of my life. Even as a personal trainer, even in the best shape of my life, I was never fully content and happy. And now I can look, and yes, I could always make more progress. I could always be stronger. I could look better, whatever. But just having the contentness of like I'm happy is like this January is when that happened. I think I made an episode about that, you know. But it's taken me like since I've started my own health journey, which was like around 2019-ish. So that's basically when I started my career and the accomplishments that I had that entire time, even though I lost 40 pounds in like in let's what a year or so like that, I wasn't happy. I wasn't content. And then that was like around 2020. And then from then on, I've been actively working on my emotional and mental mental health, like actively working on it. And that's taken me 4 years. So in total, 5 years to finally get somewhere, even after accomplishing something, to actually say I am happy with the progress I've made. 5 years. I don't want this. I don't want it to take you far. I don't want it to take you 5 years to do that. But I want you to understand that it could. Realistically, accomplishing something can take longer than you want it to, especially when we have lives or a job that is not conducive to doing everything perfectly all the time. I want you to understand this may take a little bit longer, but you can still make lots of progress. You can still find little mini boundaries that help you feel better about the decisions that you make, even when your life isn't entirely revolving around health and fitness. And especially if your life isn't revolved around health and fitness, because the majority of people on this planet, their life doesn't revolve around health and fitness. That's why they hire people to help them. And there's a lot of health and fitness professionals that are awful, that make this worse on the general population. I'm hoping, I hope that I can make even a small impact for you. And remember, like, I don't want it. I don't want you to take 5 years like I did. I want you to accomplish a lot. I want you to accomplish everything that you want to do. But I want you to accomplish it and not be like me, where you lose 40 pounds and you don't think you accomplish anything. You still only see yourself as a fat person. That's what I had to undo. Like in the year that I lost 40 pounds, and then the 4 years that it's taken me to work on just my relationship with myself and not seeing a fat person. Like I would think I was just this unhealthy, overweight person. And even at 8% body fat, I would never recognize how awesome I did look at the time. Because in my head, it wasn't, I didn't fix anything internally. It took me 4 years to fix the internal and just get comfortable. I still have those days where I have to talk to myself and say, I should look better. I should work out more. I should diet more. But then I have to talk to myself rationally. I have to remember the boundaries that I've kept with myself and say, you know what? I don't have to. I get to because I like the way I feel when I do those things, right? Have to, I create animosity and frustration. Get to, I gain more when I get to, right? That takes practice. But I'm telling you this, I hope this is making sense. I tell you this because it's going to take practice, it's going to take time, and this is why I do the podcast still. And I'm not perfect. I got bogged down with the new weeks, and I need to be more. I need to be more prepared with this stuff. But I want to come back and get this episode out there quickly as I could before I said, "Oh, I'm too tired," or "I don't have time." You know, I'm not perfect. You know, and I chose to prioritize other things and let some things that weren't as impactful for me at the time um fall to the wayside for a moment. And like the podcast is still important to me, but with the new changes, I needed some bandwidth from somewhere else, you know. And at the time, recording and then writing descriptions and then uploading, it just felt like it was too much. So I gave myself some time. I focused on the things that I knew were going to give me more bang for my buck, sticking with my boundaries for my diet, for my food choices, sticking with my boundaries for my fitness, finding ways to prioritize movement in my office. So even though I'm not moving most of the day, I'm getting movement where I can. Those things gave me more, but I lost some semblance of my routine with the podcast, you know, and that's okay. We are human. We only have certain bandwidth for a certain amount of things, and it's just about mitigating and prioritizing the most important ones, and then coming back to or adding them back in when you feel ready and and it's appropriate for you. So I want to end this episode just with some tidbits that I've learned. I've kind of tidbits I've learned with how to prioritize movement or just being health conscious when you're working in an office when it's not very convenient and when it's not very easy to do so. So I already kind of started with it. My number one goal, I even did like a seminar to a bunch of to a corporate office once when I was first starting, like how to be health conscious when you're in a environment that's not always the case. Standing at your desk, or just finding, like, for every hour you sit, for trying standing for like 5-ish minutes is so powerful. Like, just getting that little bit of blood flow that helps a lot with focus, with energy, and it helps with loosening up your hips and your body. um Prioritizing the stairs as often as you can, right? I only work on the second floor, so it's easy for me to pick the stairs. Like I said, when I go to the restroom, I'm using the stairs, I'm using the restroom on a different floor, so I'm gonna take the stairs to get there. So I have to go up and downstairs every time I get up from my desk to go to the restroom, right? Prioritizing those things and being just I don't have to it's not always convenient, but but this is how I can sneak in this movement without without adding a bunch of without just adding a big deal about it. It's like, okay, I have a convenient bathroom, but I would rather be a little bit more focused on my movement and not and even though and since I can't move as much as I used to, this is the best I can do for right now. So yeah, standing for every hour that you sit, using or prioritizing the stairs as often as you possibly can. Um, get away from your desk. Like, I try and eat my lunch outside for at least 20-30 minutes, right? Get away from my desk for even a little while. It's not always convenient, right? There's certain people that have desk jobs that are that are way more important than I am. And their job's a lot more stressful, but that's a personal boundary that, like, just getting out in some sunlight, just away from your desk, away from the just the office light in general, and getting that sun can do a wonder for you, for your health, for your stress management, for especially for your sleep. Getting just natural sunlight somewhere in your day is awesome. Staying hydrated. I'll always have a water bottle next to me. My big water bottle broke, unfortunately, so I'm just using a shaker bottle. I still try to drink between half a gallon of water and a gallon a day. I try to drink 3 of these while I'm at work, so that this is like 22 ounces. So I leave work with 66 ounces at least done for the day. So then I'm in my half gallon category. Um, what else? Um, I meal prep my lunches, and I make sure I bring my lunch and try to choose that first. And I will always try to choose my lunch before I will um say yes to someone buying me lunch. It's not that I want to, and I do want to quickly talk about that. It's very tough to feel like you're going to offend someone who offers you to buy lunch. But usually that's like a fallacy. That's an assumption. Our brain takes especially as people pleasers, our brain will say like, oh, if you say no, you're going to offend them. It's like, no, like it's just a fear, right? Like, saying no and no thank you, I'm good, is totally fine. You don't have to justify it, you don't have to explain yourself. Just say no, I'm okay, thank you. And even if they say you're sure, like my pseudo boss, I think he's technically my boss, he was like, hey, you want Chick-fil-A for lunch? And I had my lunch in the fridge, and I don't get me wrong, I wanted to say yes. I really did, but I want to stick with my food choices as often as possible, so that, I when I go out for a date with my wife later in the week, or like family Memorial Day weekend stuff, I would rather say yes to that stuff than I would to say yes to, lunch at work for Chick-fil-A. Even though I really wanted it, I wanted to choose my no so I could say yes at a different, more aligned opportunity. That takes practice, but again, just sharing my perspective, so it hopes in hopes that it helps you kind of see where you can find opportunities where this could happen for you. And if you have any questions, find me on social media or email me. And I'm happy to talk to you about this or answer any questions. So yeah, so I said no to my boss. He offered to buy me Chick-fil-A, and then, yeah, I said no, I'm good, thank you though. He said, are you sure? And it was even the people pleaser part of my brain was like, oh, I can't say no now. It's like, yeah, I could. I said no once, I'm gonna say no again. Like, nah, I'm good. I have my own lunch. I appreciate it though. And then I went back to work. And then they had lunch, they ate it, and I went and had my lunch, and it was totally fine. Um, it was still scary in my head to say no, but I was a boundary that I wanted to stick with. It takes practice, takes time. This has taken me 5 years to develop and be comfortable with doing, right? I don't want it to take 5 years, but I want to expose you to this so that you can start seeing and how to start implementing in your day to day. And then what else? And then yeah, and then I guess that's like the in-office stuff. Then the last one, or the like the at-home stuff, like my personal boundary is to try and get to the gym at least 3 days a week. But like the big goal in my head is every day. But the my minimum is three. If I get there 3 times a week, which is I know is very doable, very manageable for me, um, I'm okay with that. I'm trying to strive for every day because I know if I get there, I'll do at least something more, especially since I'm sitting for the majority of the day. I know just doing that little bit will help me feel a lot better, and that's just a personal boundary. I help people understand like what is there like what is the perfect world scenario? My perfect world scenario, since I'm working every day, is go to the gym every day. Or if I since I'm working a 9 to 5 corporate job, my perfect world is go to the gym every day. But my realistic world is at least three. And if you have that like juxtaposition, I think it's juxtaposition. Um, if you have that comparison, okay, perfect world, yeah, every day would work. But what's like reasonable? What's manageable right now? What's the realistic amount? It's like, okay, perfect world, yeah, every day, but realistic is probably like once, 1 to 3 times. Like, cool. Start there. Establish that first. Let that be your floor. 1 to 3, that's awesome. If you get more, hell yeah. But pick your your juxtaposition. What's perfect and then what's your realistic. And if as long as you stick with your realistic, good. And if you can't stick with your realistic because you're not used to picking a realistic option, then adjust it and say, cool, I thought my realistic was 3. Maybe my realistic is 1, and stick with that, you know. And then I still walk my dog when I get home. Like I will do that every day. That's a part of my routine. That's a part of what I'll do as much as I can to get as much movement as I can with the different circumstances. All I'm teaching, or all I want people to understand, is pick simple things to do repetitively. And once you get good at one, then you can add another one. And then as long as you're stacking brick by brick by brick, eventually, if you're trying to actively accomplish goals, if you're trying to maintain goals and you're going through similar life changes like I am, you'll go a lot farther, and you'll make it a lot easier on yourself because you'll remove a lot of the extra pressure, a lot of the extra anxiety, and all that stuff. So ultimately, I want to give you this tips. I want to share that story with all these stories with you, and I hope it helps you. And this is a lot longer than I anticipated to be, but that's what happens when I'm off for 3 weeks. So, thank you so much for listening. If you found it helpful, I really appreciate it if you share it with one person. And yeah, I appreciate you still listening to me rant and ramble, and I hope it helps you. And I'm always happy to help. So if you ever need anything, do not hesitate to reach out to me. All right. So you have a wonderful rest of your day. You enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, wherever you're at or whatever you're doing. And, or if you're listening to this after this is Memorial Day weekend. So whatever. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.